Hi, my name is Pablo Gonzalez, and I'm here to talk about Salesforce DevOps. There is a lot of noise in the Salesforce DevOps space, and it's really hard to know what you should know. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 advanced tips so that you know Salesforce DevOps better than anyone else. Let's get started. All right, so the first one is environment variables, also known as Salesforce DX string replacements. The idea here is that if you have multiple sandboxes, you likely have configuration that is specific to that sandbox or different sandboxes. So a good example could be a remote site setting URL or something like a URL for an authentication credential. Typically, if you have a UAT environment and an integration environment, those would point to different URLs. Traditionally, how people got around this issue is they have to go to each sandbox and manually update those URLs to match the different endpoints for those environments. With environment variables, you can just simply put that configuration in the Salesforce DX project, as you can see on the screen, and before you deploy, the Salesforce CLI is going to automatically know what environment you're deploying to and switch the content of that variable at runtime. So for example, if you deploy to UAT, the variable is going to be updated to the UAT variable. If you are deploying to the integration environment, then that value is going to be updated to the integration value. So the idea here is that you can just have a single repository with all your environment variables, everything that is specific to different sandboxes, and automate that completely when you deploy changes to that or to those sandboxes. All right, for the second one, it's about continuous integration. A lot of people like to say that they practice continuous integration, and a lot of tools claim that they do CI/CD. The real thing is that continuous integration is actually a mindset, is a way of thinking, and it's a real practice that, well, as the word says, you have to practice. It's not really a piece of software that you can buy. So what continuous integration is a process where you're continuously integrating your changes with other people's changes. Now, let's say that you have another colleague who's working on a completely different project and they're introducing a data validation framework with validation rules. And so both of you are working on completely different sandboxes, completely different feature branches in isolation. After 2 months, you deploy those changes to an integration sandbox, and guess what? Nothing works. Nothing works because basically all the flows that you created did not take into account the validation rules that your colleague were creating. So now you enter the dreaded integration phase, where now you have to figure out how to reverse engineer everything and figure out how all these things can work together. If you had continuously integrate each other's changes, again, continuously in small batches, you would have been able to cut those issues very early on without having to do a lot of reverse engineering. To do that in practice, you have to have a dedicated sandbox where you can deploy changes daily or as frequently as possible, run all tests, and check that everything works. If everything works, you go back to your normal flow, and then you try again the next day. So it's not easy, it's a bit tedious, but that's real continuous integration. You're continuously integrating your changes with everyone else, and everyone else is doing the same. So everyone's changes are being continuously integrated in a way that you know if something doesn't work, you get to know immediately. All right, so the next topic is feature flags. A lot of people have issues deploying frequently to Salesforce. Some of the problems that they have is that maybe something doesn't work midway through the sprint and they need to take it out of that sprint, and there's a lot of rework that needs to happen. Sometimes you need to roll back something that was already deployed to production, and all this stuff causes delays in the business actually seeing the features that you're building for them. One way to work around this problem is to use feature flags. With feature flags, you can basically hide a feature behind a toggle, and you can deploy that code to production even if it's basically toggled off. It means that it's not visible to anyone, it's not doing anything, it's kind of dormant. And what this allows you to do is just to deploy changes that are incomplete. And when I talk about this to other people, a lot of people give me pushback. Why would you deploy something that is incomplete? Well, the idea is that it's incomplete only from a business point of view, but from the technical point of view, it's almost there. And so rather than holding on to that and deploying it 2 months later, which, as I said earlier, it's a big problem, you deploy it immediately, but just hide it from the business users. This allows you to deploy a lot more often And if something goes wrong, you don't even need to roll back. You can just toggle that feature off, work on a fix, and deploy it again the next day. So I really encourage people to use feature flags as a way to deploy more often and to avoid messy and complicated rollback scenarios. All right, so the next topic is about mocking the Salesforce database. This is a very advanced topic and it's actually very complicated. It took me years to understand it. Now, as I said earlier, the real act of continuous integration is deploying changes to an integration sandbox, running all tests, and making sure that everything works. The reality for many Salesforce teams is that running tests can take a very long time. I've worked in many Salesforce orgs where running a few tests would take up to 40 minutes. So if you're just sitting there for 40 minutes waiting for some tests to run, of course you're going to be discouraged from doing that. No one wants to run tests that will take 40 minutes 3 or 4 times a day. Your whole day would be wasted. So the unfortunate reality is that to practice continuous integration, as I described earlier, your tests have to run really, really fast. And traditional Salesforce tests don't run fast because they are integration tests. So the tests that Salesforce has taught us how to write are really good because they can test the entire end-to-end flow. You insert an account, Salesforce runs the entire order of execution, and then we validate that the behavior is correct. But if you notice what I said in that sentence, Salesforce runs the entire order of execution when you insert that account. That takes a lot of time. And if you're running, again, 1,000 tests, which is very common, that could easily take 40 minutes or 1 hour. And the thing is that for every test, you don't really need to know how the whole order of execution works or how it manipulates or influences the specific logic that you're working for. Sometimes you just need to know, does this piece of code work? And for that, you don't need to know how everything else works together. And so one way to do that is to mock the Salesforce database. Basically, what you do in a test is instead of calling the real Salesforce database, what we call a wrapper around the database, where in a test is not going to actually insert the record, but is going to pretend that the record was inserted and is going to give you an ID and everything just as if it was really inserted. This way, you can actually test your business logic pretending that the database was actually executed, but because it's an in-memory database, it only takes a few seconds, 60 seconds or even 1 minute. If you multiply this, to 1,000 tests, your entire test suite could take maybe 4 to 5 minutes to run versus 45 minutes. So obviously 5 minutes of waiting is a lot more desirable than 45 minutes. Now, as I said, this is a very advanced topic. It is complicated. In my book, Clean Apex Code, I have a whole chapter dedicated to how to mock the Salesforce database. So if you're really interested in that topic, I recommend reading that chapter from the book. But the whole point here is that if we want to practice real continuous integration, we need to adopt modern design patterns for mocking dependencies, including the Salesforce database. All right, and for the last one, I think that real DevOps starts with clean code. So you may have noticed that we've been building up to this in all the different tips. We spoke about continuous integration and how it really should be practiced. Then I spoke about mocking the Salesforce database, which is a requirement to practice real continuous integration. And now we're talking about clean code. The reality is that mocking the Salesforce database is so complex that you really need to understand software design very well. If you just maybe know how to program a little bit here and there, it's going to be very complicated for you to adopt advanced design patterns like that. And so the reality is that to practice DevOps the way I think it should be practiced, you need to start with code. Your code has to be good. You have to have good code quality, good names, good boundaries, good modularity, good cohesion, and low coupling. If you have those things, it's a lot easier to start adopting advanced design patterns like the ones that I described earlier. Also, if you have Apex classes that are too big, full of different responsibilities, you're going to have a lot of merge conflicts. You're going to have a lot of people making changes to the same class. As I said earlier, if something goes wrong with that class, you're going to have to roll back, which means rolling back other people's changes. And so all these things are traditionally thought of as DevOps problems, right? Rollbacks, merge conflicts, and things like that. But really, they're all about code. So your code quality has to be good. You have to have small classes. You have to have high cohesion, low coupling, and advanced design patterns if you want to practice DevOps the right way. All right, so those are the 5 advanced tips for Salesforce DevOps. Now, there's a lot more that I could have said. If you want to learn more, I can recommend 2 awesome resources. The first one is the book Mastering Salesforce DevOps by my friend Andrew Davis. And the second one is, of course, my book, Clean Apex Code, which came out a few days ago. And thank you so much, Salesforce Band, for giving me this opportunity. And see you next time.